podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Coming up, news on the international front. Are Denver still the scariest team in the WER? And why do the Free Jacks keep pulling me back in? Plus, news from the college and high school fronts. Stick around. This is the Maul Street Journal. Hello and welcome back to the Maul Street Journal, the podcast that brings you all the latest news and reviews for all things American rugby. We are part of the Global Gainline Network. It can be found on all your usual platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. So if you haven't already, give us a like or subscribe. Tell a couple of friends about us. We really appreciate your support. Either way, this is, I'm pretty sure, episode 27, not counting a few bonus episodes. The last one was, of course, a lovely chat with Sammy Sullivan of the USA Eagles Sevens program. So if you missed it, be sure to check that out. She's just phenomenal. Either way, thanks for joining us. I'm your host for today, David Lawrence. I'm here once again with Kolya. Kolya, are things winding down a bit for you at school?
Yes, they are. The kids are now out of the school, and it's just in service for the rest.
The school stops earlier in the year, I think, in Texas than a lot of other places.
Yes, it does.
Because it's too unbearably hot?
Pretty much.
I remember talking to my partner about it, asking her where she used to like to walk as a kid, and she was like, walk places? Anyway, our tradition is to start with a bit of news. There's been some news on the international front with, I believe it's 490 days until the next Men's World Cup. The roster has been extended for the USA Eagles and their summer test series. Kolya, you spotted this before I did. What are your initial thoughts on the squad?
So I'm, in general, really happy about it. There's a lot of new caps, more than 10 uncapped players listed on the extended squad. Peyton Wall is finally getting a look in. Tavite Lopetti is in, thanks to a stellar season this season so far. Zion Goings in. There's a St. Mary's player. There's a Cal player. And
so if the list I've got is right, it's 16 new caps. That's
16 new caps, yeah. And what really stood out to me is in the returning to play section of the roster, you've got David Ainu.
Yes.
From Stade Toulouse, which makes me happy because there was some rumors that he was going to sit out and then switch.
Yeah, I heard that too. I wonder what happened. He's been good for Toulouse as well.
Yes, but that's good to have him back in the thing.
AJ McGinty's back. I feel like he might be past his sell-by date, but I just love him, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and
there's of course a name in the returning to play that I wasn't looking forward to. Sad to see Rufus's name back there. I thought he was off to France, never to darken our shores again, but alas.
Yes. But we do have, but this does look like a pretty good squad for the upcoming matches in July. Like, it'll get cut down, of course, but this looks like a team that can put up a good fight against Portugal and Zimbabwe and maybe Spain.
Yeah, I don't see any reason we couldn't hang with them. And a lot of our new faces are genuinely really good. Sam Gala, like, some of these guys are really something. And I love Ruben de Haas's game, obviously. Jason Dam's in the squad. I got to see him in person a couple weeks ago, and he's a sight to behold.
Mm-hmm.
Only a few Free Jacks, a small handful.
Yes, it's generally Anthem with some Chicago Hounds, followed by a few others. But you can apparently play for Nevers and get in, Perry Mayo.
Thank you for mentioning that. I have never heard of that. What is that program?
Oh, that's a French team.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Pro D2 team.
And Nafima Afu, he's also playing in the Pro D2.
Yes.
Where's my favorite one? Yeah, St. Mary's, like you said, Dominic Bisag, who's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Usan Nevers, but Where's the one? I came across one that absolutely made me crack up because I'd never heard of such a thing. Of course, I can't find it now. No, that, oh yes, Kurita Watergush. Vilami
Yes.
Helu is playing for Kurita Watergush. Is that the tier below Rugby League One in Japan?
No, it's Division 3.
Oh wow. Okay. Huh.
And the logo is amazing. It
Oh dang it! I forgot to look it up.
it is a whale with its arms crossed spraying water.
Did I tell you about the Washington State based or no, the Oregon based minor league baseball team that one of their alternative egos is the exploding whales?
I think you did.
Okay. Great story. Look it up if if you missed the episode. Who else are you looking at on this roster and thinking, "Ooh, this is a good one"? Patty Ryan, I like. You know, Luke Carty, of course, he's got to be on there. Chris Hilsenbeck,
Yes,
of
yes.
course,
Luke Carty, Ruben DeHaas, who we'll get to him later when we talk MLR, but he is having his best season.
definitely.
To Vite
Cash
Lopetti.
Maluia, he got a
Yeah,
sniff with the NFL as well. So that's, of course,
yes,
the first thing the pundits always like to mention.
yes. John Rizzo's doing or deserves a cap from Old Glory. And then I'm always going to be on the Peyton Wall train.
Definitely. We've talked about him a lot.
Yes.
Mitch Wilson's back in the squad.
Jack
Again,
Iscaro's back in the squad.
Christian Poitevin, I'm a big fan of his. And yeah, you already mentioned David Ayanu. Yeah, there's some incredibly good players in this long list. I don't know. Am I getting
Yeah,
ahead of myself here, being excited for the summer?
yeah. I'm actually really excited with this group.
Um, any final thoughts on the extended squad?
Uh, Not really, other than this is a lineup we can definitely build from. And 16 uncapped players looks like we're actually moving to a youth movement.
I do like that. And obviously it's inevitable. So I kind of like that we're starting right now.
Yes,
Under that 500-day mark, it seems like it's time to start, getting things going.
yes, yes.
Well, of course, meanwhile, there's plenty of domestic action going on. I'm going to start with the WER because I have to complain a tiny bit. The website, it's still a mess after all this
Yes,
time.
it is still a mess.
Like I'm looking at the table right now. It's not in any kind of order, quite literally. It doesn't go by points, and it's not even like alphabetical. I was
Mhm.
trying desperately to find any
Yes.
rhyme for how it. I know it's lame to complain about the WER, given the resources they've got, but it's a great product, and I can't understand how there's no college intern just chomping at the bit to fix their website. It's diabolical.
Yeah. You would think someone would look at it, but the best table is on the North American Rugby database.
Of course, it is. Shout out to James Dealey.
Yeah. Yeah, but even it is not correct at this exact moment.
Well, that's what I'm kind of worried about for my, next little bit. From what I saw on the official website, there's 3 rounds in the bag. Is that right? Or do you
Yes,
have it better
yes,
than?
yes. I think
Okay,
it's
few.
three.
Okay, few. So Twin Cities Gemini, they're on top with 11 points. The Bay Breakers and Denver Onyx are tied with 10, followed by my Banshees with 7, Chicago Tempest with 6, and the stupid team from New York with just 5. Collier, we predicted the Onyx would kind of mop the floor with everyone again this year, but they've proved mortal. What are your thoughts after 3 rounds?
Yeah, the like I wasn't able to watch the first round where the Onyx stumbled a bit, but since then, like it looks like there's more parity in the league, which is a
Very
positive
good.
after
Yes.
last year. Like there is one thing I do want to bring up that's a slight criticism. It might not be a criticism for some people, but the commentators they're getting, like, it's really good that they finally have a broadcast partner who is actually putting things on, and the camera angles actually aren't terrible.
Yep.
But what is getting me is the all the commentators seem to think that anyone watching has never seen rugby before, and they spend the entire time just giving a tutorial of how rugby works, which I kind of understand,
Yeah.
but there's got to be that give and take where the people who know rugby are allowed to actually watch without feeling pandered to.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I didn't plan to take a little side trip into this, but it's really important because we're an American rugby pod. That is a really fine, weird line to walk
Mhm.
because the terminology in the sport's not that difficult to understand, but the terminology is weird,
Yes.
especially because it directly contradicts a lot of American terminology.
Yes.
We say it goes out, they say it goes into touch, even
Yeah.
little tiny things like that. Like you have to know what that means. And it is a barrier for brand new viewers. I remember the first time I tried to watch a rugby match and I saw people holding up signs that said try. And I was like, don't you mean kill him? Don't you mean dominate? Like,
Yeah.
try? That's all we're going to do today? And nobody's explaining in the comms, of course. On the other hand, people like Jan Rutkowski, a Hall of Famer, tells me she hates watching American broadcasts because it always feels like pandering to her. Because it always feels like, yeah, we understand. Can we get on with it? What's the magic recipe? It's got to be, the truth has to be right in the middle, right?
So, like, I'm gonna jump into soccer for a moment because several years ago, like when I was around high school, the last time Fox had the Champions League, they brought out, I think it was like Michael Strahan while he was still playing.
It was his
Like,
sixth job at the moment.
yes, yes. Like before he was doing all his other stuff, I think they brought out Michael Strahan or someone to, like, before the Champions League final, which is arguably bigger than the World Cup
Yeah.
in soccer. And he literally defined every term that you could run into in soccer commentary
Ooh.
beforehand in like a little jokey way. That's kind of what a WER broadcast sounded like to me.
I think Strahan's available if they need him.
Yes, yes. So I understand explaining why the penalty happened. I understand a basic explanation of why this, what that word means.
Mm.
But you've got to think that, especially for WER, if you are hunting down this obscure channel that it's on, you know enough about rugby that you don't need the 5 meter line pointed out to you.
Yep, that's a great point. I mean, I understand the paranoia too, because you can't make it a barrier. You can't
Yes.
make a new fan say, I don't understand what I'm watching, click.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ugh,
So,
got a few years to get around.
like, have you seen, like, there's this YouTube slash TikTok slash Instagram short thing from a few years ago before the last World Cup of like rugby explained for toddlers.
Oh, no, I did not.
It it's this South African guy who gets a little weird in some of his other videos,
Okay.
but it's like just explaining a scrum as though you're talking to a 3-year old. And it's much more engaging than what American commentators do while explaining. Like, okay, yes, a try is when the ball touches the ground. and then everyone's happy. Okay.
That's good.
Just play something like that before a game that's engaging and not just Michael Strahan level. The ball is circular and it has black squares on it and you kick it. But
Maybe it needs to be maybe we can do it with a smile on our face, make
yes,
it a little funny and be
yes,
cool about
yes,
it, but stuff it into the pregame and then talk
yes,
about the game and comms
yes,
like normal.
yes, yes. Yeah. But getting off of that, what I've seen of the WER this year, and I've tried to catch at least one match a weekend. Like I missed
I,
it
I
first
can
week.
find them when they're on. I can't find the replays.
Neither can I. Neither can I. And that's annoying when they're on at the same time as another match
Yeah.
or something or something like that. But the style of play actually looks pretty fun.
Yep.
Like it's an enjoyable style of play. The refereeing's a for bad or good is about the level you're getting with MLR right now.
Fair.
And yeah,
Remember the inaugural WER match? It was New York versus Boston, and it was a really young new ref, and the game ended on a call that she had to make, and she had the nerve to do it, and we trumpeted it like
yeah,
it was so
yes,
good, and I thought the
yes,
officiating level
yes,
was impressive last year.
yes, yes. But I'm happy with it so far. I wish they would make replays available somewhere,
Yeah.
or at least if they are available, tell us where they are.
It, once again, just the communication because when the new deal was announced, it was like, guess what? You'll be able to get it on your smart TV. You won't even have to sign up for anything. And it's like, oh yeah, but you better be there when it's happening.
Mm.
Anyway, Boston, they travel to the Twin Cities this weekend. That should be a great match. That's on Saturday. On Sunday, it's Bay Breakers versus Tempest, and New York hosts Denver. I feel like we're going to know a lot more about these teams after this weekend, right?
Yes, agreed.
So I just want to take a minute to remind everyone, if you're enjoying the show, please do us a favor and like and subscribe, all the usual good things. But most importantly, tell a friend or two. We are part of the Global Gameline Network and have rugby covered for all the corners of the globe. So check out our YouTube channel, find a few shows you like, and thanks as always for your support. Well, I was messaging you about it this week. Looking at the MLR, my Free Jacks. They are insisting on pulling me back in. They currently sit in fourth place. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in. Collier, Chicago are still unbeaten at 8-0, but the next two teams are both 500. New England and DC are both 3-5, but we edge them out through a single bonus point. While after winning a couple early contests, Anthem are back at the bottom. What are your thoughts with just 2 rounds left in the regular season?
So with 2 rounds left, Chicago looks like an absolute juggernaut that is not going to be stopped until the playoffs. I actually thought that this last match against Seattle was probably going to be the match that had the best chance of maybe knocking them off, but that
Right.
definitely didn't happen.
Nope.
They Anthem makes no sense. They they will put on a really, really good performance and then put on two duds.
I Is it mental with them? Is it the coaching? I feel like it can't be the coaching because that's part of the script of this, the sort of the intention of this franchise.
Yes. Yes. I don't know what it is exactly, but you can tell that they are being outcoached. Like
Yeah.
each match, the opposing coach focuses in on a one thing, and then Anthem implodes from that one thing. So a few weeks ago, it was targeting Luke Carty. This last week, it was just Maul based.
Yep.
It's yeah, the Legion. can put or are very Jekyll and Hyde. They can put up a terrible performance and then put on an absolutely amazing performance. Same with Old Glory.
Yeah.
Like,
California is like France 10 years ago.
yes, yes, yeah. Old Glory should not be in fifth with how well they've played in their matches. Like, they're the one that's given Chicago the best go
Definitely.
so far.
I still think they should have taken that one too.
Yeah, yeah. Seattle is clearly good at home and not away, and we've talked about that before, that their narrow pitch seems to help them a lot.
Yeah. And the design of the stadium,
Yeah,
the crowd.
yeah. And but what I'm really liking is, especially with Seattle and Chicago, and to some extent Old Glory and California when they're in one of their good places, there has been a decent crowd at these matches.
Yeah. I'm most surprised by the California crowds.
Yes. Yeah, it was cool a couple weeks ago seeing them play at St. Mary's.
Definitely.
Like that, like with how much St. Mary's has given to college rugby or to USA rugby over the years, it was cool to see that get rewarded. Even if I
Yeah.
don't really like what the Legion are doing with this not really having a home base thing.
Yeah. They're the Moana Pacifica of the MLR and possibly also to disappear. I thought the moving around home venues was going to be such a poison pill. I was like, if I was either a San Diego fan or an LA fan, and I swallow that they've gotten together,
Mhm.
the fact that they're now going to ask me to go to three different places, some of which are 6, 8 hours apart. Like if the Free Jacks were like, "Hey, we're playing a game in Montreal this year," unless it was a
Mhm.
family vacation, I'm not going. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
But they're there. People are showing up. Maybe it's just nice out. Maybe it's just nicer to be outside watching a game in
Yes.
California.
Yes. Yes. And like I mentioned it with the squad, Ruben de Haas is having an absolutely amazing year. He is absolutely running the show for Chicago. Him and Hilsenbeck, like, if it's up to me, Lawrence starts Cardi at 10 for the Portugal match, but the De Haas Hilsenbeck axis is trying to say that there's an argument there.
Ruben Haas is only 27 still. I thought he was older
Yes.
than that.
Yeah, we have him for at least two more cycles,
It's
including
great.
this one. And he's only getting better.
He really is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I was sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
One of the things that I've heard people complain about with the MLR is, oh, if US players are just playing against other American competition or like retired Aussies and Kiwis, that they're not going to grow that much.
Mm.
But Ruben de Haas is showing that it's possible.
Well, this is a great question for you as a coach because especially in the early years of MLR, it was like, oh, you're retiring? Hey, you don't have to retire. You can go to California and play for another couple years and be the best guy on the team. And it was a place where, faded stars might come, people who are on the downside of their career, and it wasn't seen as a developmental place. But like you said, Ruben Haas is a great example. Does that tell us something fundamentally about the improvement of this league and the state of play in America?
Well, it tells you that this plan that they put in place this last year after all the turmoil might actually start bearing fruit if it's given some time.
Mm.
Like, we have to see what happens after this year. Like, Anthem's losing its World Rugby funding, but that was always going to happen.
Yeah, that was a short-term injection, I think.
Yes, yes. But assuming that the league can keep the teams it has and maybe add one or two more, I'm excited to see the fruits of this, not this cycle, but the next one.
I'm curious. A couple of years ago, before things kind of the waters got very muddy for MLR, it was looking like there was going to be more expansion, and the city I was hearing was Monterey. Have you
Same.
heard any rumblings?
I haven't heard anything lately, but I have heard rumbling or had heard rumblings about that.
South Africa, South America, rugby's on the rise. There's some good programs.
Yes, and speaking of that, the last or not this last match, but the prior 2 weeks, the Chicago matches have made me really, really want to see a Champions Cup type thing between MLR and Super Rugby America.
Oh, yes. That would be
Like
amazing.
I'm not sure how it would work logistics wise and expenses wise, but like I really want to see how Chicago would play against, say, the Pampas.
Me too. And I also want to throw in as the third comp Curry Cup, but
Yes,
I think Curry Cup teams would probably dominate both the other leagues. Do you think?
somewhat, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, by the way, another thing I was mentioning this week, just an incredibly mind-blowing stat. Chicago's points differential is greater than my total points for the Free Jacks this entire year. That's insane.
Yeah, they like putting up 50s.
They really do. Well, this weekend could determine the fate of several teams, including my own. DC, they're home for the Hounds on Saturday. Whew, that's going to be tough. Anthem face California on Sunday, and then we wrap up our nightmarish three-game road trip in Seattle. That's going to be a tough nut to crack. That's pretty much that's that's the end or beginning of the season for us.
Yes. Yes, and this last week New England looked pretty good.
Weirdly, we brought back Andrew Quattrin, we brought back Paula Bellicana, and now it's been 3 weeks in a row and no sign of them. Like I ran into Paula at the stadium. They're there. Andrew
Mhm.
Quattrin was warming up with the team. They haven't made it back into the squad. Uh, I don't know what to make of that.
My guess would be match fitness. So as a
But Q
coach,
Q was playing in the Pro D2. I
yeah,
don't know where
yeah,
Paula's been.
yeah, yeah. But what you're supposed to do, or USA Rugby's ideal, is that you have 4 weeks of tackle training before getting into a match.
Oh, okay. So they're probably not going to be in the roster for Seattle, but they're probably going to debut at our
Yeah.
home finale on June 7th. Wow.
Mhm.
Oh, that'll be a nice morale boost.
Yeah. And then you were saying in the chat something about that season finale for the Free Jacks.
Oh, what was I saying?
Something about a WER match.
Oh yeah, it looks like that's going to be a double header. If the WER website can be believed, the Banshees play after the Free Jacks, so not only a double header at Fort Quincy as we call it, the women will headline. And I don't know if that's a first. I'm betting that's a first in America.
That would be my guess.
That's pretty awesome. I can't
Yeah.
wait. I'm going to be doing the radio comms for the first match when we're probably going to. Ooh, that's going to be a tough game. But then maybe I can hang around and actually enjoy myself after that. So who knows?
Mhm.
Okay. Kolya, before we call it a full lid, I know there's been a ton of college action, high school as well. What have you got for us?
So there's been a lot going on, especially with college. Like the college season is generally over now, but there has been a lot of movement going on between CRAA, which is USA Rugby's college division, and NCR, which is the independent college division.
Okay.
So for CRAA, their Midwest Conference is set to expand. They're going to be adding Iowa State, University of Minnesota and Wayne State.
Does this have to do with these programs becoming accredited and then you qualify or something? Or I don't know anything about this.
So it's kind of like a lot of these teams are playing in kind of independent leagues, like independent regional leagues.
Yeah, like
And
college consortium groups.
yes, and then CRAA is USA Rugby's preferred development pathway. It's
So that's
supposed
the sort of top official.
yes,
Okay.
but NCR, National Collegiate Rugby, is the one that has been making a lot of noise recently. And over the last couple weeks, it has been stealing colleges from CRA.
Oh,
The biggest one being UCLA.
that's huge. That UCLA program is well established.
Yes, yes. And there's been a lot of consternation among UCLA alumni
Mm,
about this because there's not many teams out west in NCR. Like it's mainly a Midwest and Northeastern league.
huh,
And there's a worry that UCLA won't be able to play very many matches now.
interesting. The geography of U.S.
Yes.
rugby again.
Yes.
Yeah, the NCR sevens tournament that I was involved with a few weeks ago, in at
Yes.
the level at least I was doing, there was a Rhode Island team and a New Hampshire team, and yeah,
Yes.
that'd be tough
Yes.
for a team from LA.
Yes. And then along with that, there's 7 teams from CRAA D1AA that are moving to NCR for the next season. Arkansas, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State.
Wow.
So that's a lot of movement.
Random side note, I always want Nebraska to be good. I rarely watch college football, but I watched a Cornhuskers game once, and I think they might have passed the ball twice. Everything was just a jumbo package. It was like Joe Gibbs was in charge. It was great.
Yeah,
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like NCR is starting to actually cause problems for CRAA.
So is this, as they would say in The Wire, one of them good kind of problems, or is this an actual problem for USA Rugby?
So it depends. Or NCR gives more money than CRAA,
Huh,
like as a payout, or at least that's what I've heard. But you also, and as we've talked about here, USA Rugby over the last decades has not been doing a great job financially, sustainability wise, or just player pathway wise. But you're also worried with moves like this that USA Rugby will blacklist NCR guys. Like
that's kind of what I was getting at.
you're not gonna see someone from NCR pulling a Don Bisag and playing for the Eagles while in college still.
Uh, but you want, uh, great, a new Quagmire.
Yes, yes, and on the other side of the coin, high school rugby is doing quite well. A few month or a couple of weeks ago was the girls' high school national championships, and this past weekend was the boys' high school national championships. And
Who featured in those finals? Are we? Is it all Southern teams?
It's all over the place.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
so Charlotte, North Carolina seemed to w kind of run away with things for the boys' high school nationals. Southern California had several teams. Texas, especially in the Houston area, had several teams go. Jesuit New Orleans went. Yeah,
Collier,
and
you would know better than anyone. Is it just a truism that Catholics love rugby?
well, if it like I know I got started at a Catholic school with rugby. However, the school didn't, like as I've mentioned before, the school didn't officially sanction the team
Right.
until the year after I graduated. But it like generally private schools and now charter schools have more wiggle room when it comes to trying out new sports.
Mm,
And that's partly because many of these private schools that start out with rugby are smaller than your bigger private schools, so they might not be able to field an entire football team.
all right.
So if you want your like athletes to go to that school, you need to give them something.
Mm,
Like I know at my school, we're a we're connected with a like I work at a public charter. We've got the middle school and then we've got a high school that's connected. And one of the things that the school fights a lot is or you'll have a bunch of kids go to the middle school because the parents like the education, they like the ideas, they like the discipline, things like that. But then when it gets to high school, they want them to go play at, or they want them to be able to play at one of these big high school divisions where they can have scouts show up.
right, right.
But if you can say, "Oh, hey, here's a way that you can actually get some experience and exposure, even hitting people or with a smaller size and can go all over the place, can go all over Texas, whereas high schools generally stay in the same area."
Hmm. Interesting. The I worked at Providence College. I wonder, you might know this. At the time when I worked there, Providence College was the only institution of higher learning in the United States that was Catholic that was not Jesuit, because Providence College is the Dominican Friars.
Well, there are some other ones. Like
Are there now?
Villanova's Augustinian.
Is it? I never
Yeah.
knew that.
Yeah, Villanova's Augustinian.
Well, we weren't big enough for
Yeah,
football,
yeah,
so we
yeah,
concentrated on basketball.
yeah. Yeah, but that's kind of what these high schools are doing is a lot of these smaller charter schools or Catholic high schools or like a there's even been in my area a bunch of like independent Christian schools that have started out trying out rugby
Mm,
because they don't have enough people for a full football team.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Oh man, it all goes back to that damn book. School Days, the muscular
Yeah,
Christianity, is that what we're
yeah,
calling it?
yeah.
Still in full effect. Um, my final thing, we've mentioned them here before, so I wanted to give them another shout out. I'm literally just quoting from America Rugby News. History was made on Saturday as Los Capibaras defeated Selcom in Parana. The team from El Litoral came back from a first half deficit to complete a well-earned 34-17 victory. Go Capibaras! I don't know where those matches are to watch. I wish I did.
Yeah, yeah. I can't find them. I can find highlights now.
Oh, hey, send me a
Yeah,
link.
I found some highlights.
What's your, judgment of the quality level? Are these teams that would beat MLR teams pretty
Some of
similar?
them. Some of them.
Yeah. It leans pretty heavily towards One Nation, but there we go.
Yes, yes.
Colia, thank you so much as always. Julia, it appears, has left to really sort of concentrate on the Women's Rugby Treehouse. Yet another great show on this channel. So there could be some sort of changes in the future. Lee has got some, things in his cauldron that he's mixing up. But for now, Colia and I have got you covered for all things America. To all of you, cheers and talk to you soon.